Howdy, Banger pals. Blayne Smith welcoming you to another Overkill Reviews Bangers Weekly Metal Review Show. I am talking to you today about death metal. A shocker, I know. But the good news is I have a cool music video to go with the death metal. Take it away. Yep, Skeletal Remains just released Fragments of the Ageless last week, March 8th on Century Media, and I'm talking about it with you now. It's no surprise that longtime California death metal band Skeletal Remains is back with their 5th album since their 2011 founding. I actually reviewed their last record in 2020. Let's see what I had to say about it then. Here we go. We've got bio. Formed 2011 in California. Previous albums, 3. Overall quality of said albums, good. Only standing original member, Crispin Roy on vocals, guitars. He is the core. He's still here. Hopefully, he can keep this band or as close to this kind of lineup together. No, of course not. Well, that's not entirely true or fair. Mike DeLao is still keeping Chris company on guitars, but now he's got Pierce Williams on drums, who I'm actually a fan of. Azath and Torture Wreck are 2 bands that I really like that he's played in. And you got Brian Rush on bass, who I'm less familiar with because he's a bass player, so who cares? But we're just kidding. Banger loves bass players, so.
I feel like bass playing is so easy.
Don't say that.
Let's just talk about the record. My main issue with Skeletal Remains that I brought up in my last review is it just feels like a band that suffers from a lack of identity a little bit. Chris and his rotating cast of characters, their whole shtick is kind of just, hey, would you like some very professional, high-quality, Morbid Angel-esque death metal? Here you go. Has that changed this time around? No, obviously not. The record maintains the band you're going to see on tour after the opener, but before the classic era death metal band. So your mileage with it is going to vary depending on what you want to get out of a death metal record. If your tastes are genre-defying, boundary-pushing, limit-searching, there's not a lot on offer for you. But if you're just looking for a band that has very high-quality standards with what they put out, they're not letting anything out the door that isn't fully baked, risen, and frosted. And I will say, there is a little bit more weirdness on this record than on the last outing. So that's the downside to the button-up, shirt-and-tie professionalism of Skeletal Remains. The upside to their professionalism is they're very professional about what they do. If you buy a Skeletal Remains record, you're never going to go, hey, I got ripped off. I mean, the package alone, they got Dan Seagrave and Juano Castellano to contribute art to it. Like, what? Both of them? Those are 2 of the best cover artists in metal. Like, why both of them? That's such a massive treat and a kind of accidental, timing-wise, pretty funny counterpoint to the whole Pestilence AI drama. How is the second cover better than the first one? Please explain. The AI is everywhere. Sorry, all right, I'm not going to do the whole copy-paste. Those are 2 of the best album artists around. Again, both on one record. Just ridiculous. And if you're making a dream team to make a record with, who would you want to produce it? I'm guessing if you made a list in your top 3 in everybody watching this as top 3 would probably be Dan Swano. So, of course, Skeletal Remains co-produced the record with Dan Swano, and no surprises here in that it's constant perfection in sound. Just the tone of everything is, you wouldn't bump a knob or nudge a slider, whether it's the low-end pummeling that just blasts open the record on Relentless Appetite or the high-endy solos on the instrumental album closer. These guys know how death metal is supposed to sound, and it sounds like that all the time. I mean, they even nailed great bass tone. Check out this clip from Forever in Sufferance.
With every breath I take, the world raging rise, the soul
I think Skeletal Remains is at their most interesting on the record, and this is going to shock you, is when they're stepping outside of their comfort zone. Shock. Album almost closer, more on that later. Unmerciful is like a 7.5-minute journey that's just constantly offering up interesting things to keep the track compelling. It never turns into one of those boring slogs that sometimes a almost 8-minute death metal track can. It starts with a complete caveman knuckle draggy stomp. We love that around here. But by the end of it, they somehow managed to get to 2 minutes of almost wall-to-wall melodic death metal soloing. Crazy. Their ability to kind of bridge those two sounds but never cross out of the unga bunga territory is a big strength of theirs. Like, the overall impression I have of the record when I think back on it is of heavy, brutal death metal. Brutal with a lowercase b, as always, not brutal with a capital B. Gross. But when I'm looking for individual moments to provide you as a clip, for some reason they all sound like this. That would have been a great way to close out an album, leave me super wowed. Oh man, look at that, that's great. Unfortunately, that's not the case. In a rare, like, what seems like a rookie mistake for a band as professional as Skeletal Remains, they put a near 6-minute instrumental track to close things out. It's not bad in any way. It's well written, it's technical, it's interesting, but I just feel like a band this season should finish writing a track like Unmerciful, get that recorded, and go, wow, we really nailed it. We should pat ourselves on the back. We should be really proud. That song is a closer. Get that song some coffee. That song's gonna go full Alec Baldwin on this album.
Not only did Alec allegedly grab the woman by the arm and say, "I want to choke you to death,"
not like that Alec Baldwin. Like, Alec Baldwin's done a lot of things. Earlier Alec Baldwin.
A always B, B, C closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
An instrumental track like this just feels like it should be leading into something, which I guess technically it does because there's a bonus track on some of the albums. It's a Hate Eternal cover, but putting more songs after Unmerciful doesn't make me less mad. I just find it gets in the way of repeated listens, and the way I personally listen to records is if I really like a record, I'll listen to it like 2 or 3 times in a row when I listen to the record. And just something like that really breaks up that loop and causes me to not listen to the record as much. And if something causes me to not listen to the record, I should probably go, hey, why is that on the record? I will say there's a surprisingly cool interlude, those outros, interludes, it all feels related. It's got a great, like, ominous cinematic feel to it, and it'd be a great way for them to open live gigs. I hope going forward this is how they open live. Here's what it sounds like. This is one of those weird reviews where I get to the end and feel like guilty because I have to be like reviewer man and criticize Skeletal Remains for the aforementioned reasons, even though I have nothing but respect for them. Because the absolute reality of Skeletal Remains is they make solid, dependable records. They'll serve you well. It's just any sort of curveball or twist is not really going to be in the cards. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, they do always get on base. And if you're looking to moneyball your record collection, I mean, it's a solid addition. I give it 3.5 out of 5 Toyota Camry skulls because, like, you know, dependable. Toyota Camry. Very reliable car. But before we go, of course, I've got some shout-outs for you. And one of our good pals, Derek Jarman, a big supporter of us on Patreon. Thanks, homie. He's got 2 shout-outs for you as well. So 4 bonus records this week. Nice. Derek wants you to know about Nimue by Darwin. It's a concept EP about the Lady of the Lake. He says it's an interesting take on post/atmospheric black metal. And Traverse the Balak by Scala is a concept album about hiking in the Scottish Highlands. Post-apocalyptic-y stuff, one-man band, atmospheric, epic, progressive post-metal of the highest order, uplifting and joyous. And if you don't want to be uplifted, I have 2 downlifting suggestions for you. Molten's Malicide on Transylvanian Recordings came out last week, March 6th. Very cool piece of extreme metal with a absolutely awesome album cover. Holy hell. And then Death Thrash feels like it fits well with Skeletal Remains. So Eternals Cryptic Lust comes out on Raw Skull Records this Friday, March 15th. So there's 2 more records for you from me, 2 more from Derek. What do you think about those? What do you think about Skeletal Remains? What do you think about anything? Get down in the comments, chat with me, and you're always welcome to come by my Twitch, and you can talk to me live. Thanks, homies. See ya.